From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
All right, we are here ready to go on a lightning round of the show. My name is Sven Erlandson. I am the host of the Badass Counseling Show, and it's super duper terrific to have you here. Whether you are tuning in from Arizona or Kingston, Oklahoma, Sydney, Sparta, Tennessee, or Zimmerman, Minnesota, or from way across the ocean over in Okinawa, Japan. It's great to have you here. Lovely, lovely, lovely to have you here with your questions, with your curiosities, the things you're struggling with, the things you want help with. That's what I'm here for. I am the Badass Counselor on social media, and I am joined by my team. Sophia the artist cannot join us this evening. Casey is over in the booth, and Rob the Rocket is sitting next to me on the board. Yep. Rob, what say ye?
I like geography. You're good at that.
Okay.
Varied, interesting references makes my day. That's the kind of life I have.
Wow. I thought we were going somewhere with the geography reference.
Well, I know.
I like geography.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
That's good. Where are we now, Rob?
State of confusion.
There it is. That works. Well, let's unconfuse. Irish Brian is saying, how does one start to heal from a narcissistic relationship? All right, where I would recommend that you start healing, there are actually many things. First of all, you can start on feelings. You can start on messages. Either one, do both at the same time. First, feelings, because those are going to have to come out. And that's pretty standard 101. What are you feeling right now? Anytime you're starting in your journaling, and you need to be journaling, that's first and foremost. Pen and paper or an encrypted file in your computer, whatever. What are you feeling right now? What are you feeling at the loss of this relationship? In all likelihood, you're feeling pain, anger, sadness, the usual stuff, right? Start writing on it. In fact, what's easiest if you're a person who doesn't write, as so many people who, I talk to about this stuff is, I don't write, Sven. Yeah, but you know how to write a letter. Write a letter. Just don't send it. Write out all your feelings. Start with all the feelings that you're feeling today. Start. And tomorrow, guess what? You're going to have a whole new batch. So maybe you can't get to it tomorrow, but maybe you can get to it on Saturday. So then write more then. Wow, Sven, I don't like to dredge up all the feelings. You don't got a fucking choice. Those feelings are fucking in you. And either you're going to deal with them today or you're going to deal with them fucking 2 years from now, or you're just going to carry them into your next fucking relationship. But the shit you don't get out of you, you're going to be carrying with you. So it's not enough to dredge up feelings, people. You have to give them an exit point. That's what journaling is for. That's what going to your therapist and talking out your past shit is about. That's what writing letters that you don't send is about. Okay, so that's starting with feelings, getting your feelings out. But the other thing that you can do is you can begin also with messages. What were the messages that were conveyed to you by this person about you? Okay? Because in all likelihood, whether they were explicit or implicit, and more likely than not, they were explicit. This person told you things about you that hurt. That in the end, most of them were probably not even true. But if you have someone hectoring you with a message long enough, you're going to start to believe it. And so what you have to do if you're going to begin to sort of unspool those messages is you have to identify them. Remember, naming the beast is half the problem. So begin to journal out what were the messages this person taught you and made you believe about yourself or caused you to doubt. Is it, I'm crazy? Were they always saying, you're crazy, or you're stupid, or you're selfish, or you're the asshole, or you're the one with the problems? Start writing that stuff out. Writing how that stuff felt. And was there really any evidence for it? And how full of shit were they? And start writing about the aspects of them that were actually the problem in the relationship. Because it could be they have you so spun around they shoved your head so far up your ass that they actually have you believing that you were the fucking problem. So you've got to begin to pull that apart. And what you have to begin to do is begin to see it objectively by putting it out on paper. What journaling does, it enables us to get out of the forest, and it takes the problem out of us, and we can see it. So now we're looking at the forest rather than in the forest. We're able to look at a problem rather than being in the problem. So you can start with feelings. You can start with messages. Those are two great places. I also recommend you just grab the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and that's another tool that you can use to begin to unpack all that stuff. It's a great fucking tool. Next question.
You know, Sven, on narcissism, there's two more interesting quick ones here.
Yeah.
Hope says, why do narcissists have to have so many people in their lives that claim they have little to no friends? And then a really interesting one from Adam. Why are so many women becoming more and more narcissistic? Is it social media?
No, it's not social media. No, it's not social media. Becoming narcissistic, or what I call extreme takers, is a result of it. We just taped an episode. We had a gentleman, Angelo, come on this show, and he was a self-admitted narcissist, and he wanted help. He was losing his family, losing his wife, and he's 49, and we've just taped 2 episodes with him. Those will be going up now this month in the next few weeks. And what we did was we dove in, and how does he act, and where does it come from, and what are the causes and the origins? And what we determined was, as we went way back into his past, is that this kid, when he was a child, no one protected him, that he grew up in significant physical and emotional abuse. So he had to learn to protect himself by distancing himself from others, by not allowing himself to be vulnerable, by avoiding, by putting the blame onto others, gaslighting, avoidance, being passive aggressive. Those were mechanisms for self-protection. And also in part because he was taught that he was not worthy of love. And also using those mechanisms, those same mechanisms, to get love from people. And so the reason that anybody becomes a narcissist is self-protection and to get love. And those wounds, those messages always go back to childhood, always. And so those are unhealed wounds that anybody who is either an extreme taker or, on the other hand, an extreme giver is someone who has pain in their childhood and someone who is taught that they have to do certain things to protect themselves, and they have to do certain things in order to try to get love. And usually it's some extreme form of behavior. What was the first comment though, Rob?
That was, why do narcissists have to have so many people in their lives, yet they claim they have little to no friends?
Because they are constantly needing people pouring love into their love cup. They have such a gaping hole in the bottom of their love cup. In other words, they have such little worth that the love never pools inside of them. They never believe that they are loved. So I constantly need more and more people pouring love into me, and it's never enough. So when they say they never have enough friends, or they don't have enough friends, what they're really saying is, I never am getting enough love. Even though they're probably using every single person in their life to get love from, it's never enough. That's how little self-worth they have. They have none. So they need constant affirmation, confirmation of their worth. I've got a question here from Nick on TikTok. Nick says, I'm a first-year counseling student. What is your biggest piece of advice for someone at this point? Simple. Not easy, but simple. Heal yourself, Nick. Very often people go into helping professions, particularly counseling, clergy. Yeah, those two are biggies, to try to figure out their own shit. They don't know that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Nick, the biggest thing that you can do, the thing that will make you the most powerful at your work, is you healing your own shit. You going into the origins of all the shit going on inside of you. All of your own feelings of unworthiness, needing to prove yourself, ego, wanting to just help people and help people and help people. All of that, the further the deeper down you go, the more you get out all of your own pain and fears and bullshit beliefs you were taught about yourself. And I guarantee it's motherfucking there, man. The more you go into that and begin to give that stuff access or exit, and the more you begin to identify that shit, the more you're unburdened of that, the more powerful you'll become. Do you want to know why? First of all, you'll begin to know how to heal. The reason I am good at what I do, and I'm good at about one thing in life. I suck at computers. I can barely change my own oil. I'm terrible at hunting. You know, I'm a bad shot. I was pretty good at sports, but there were so many people that were better than me. But I'm really good at one thing, and that's healing people. Why? Because I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression. Every single tool that I use, I know works. Why? Because I've used it on myself, and I've used it on hundreds, thousands, literally thousands of people, not to mention all the people I've counsel on social and speaking in groups, literally millions of people over the last 30 years. What's my point? You will develop tools that you know fucking work. It's not shit out of a book. Heal yourself. And if you want help with that, get the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It'll completely kick your ass, but you will become so much more powerful. Furthermore, you'll begin to trust your own inner voice. Nothing is more important, Nick, in you being a counselor than you trusting your own inner voice. Why? Because the shitty counselors don't. The shitty counselors trust the book. They trust the theories. And there's a lot of good stuff in those books. A lot of great theories. I'm not denouncing those. But the truth is, you have to trust your inner voice. You have to be willing to push. You have to be willing to be aggressive. You have to be willing to be compassionate to the people who maybe are least deserving of it or think they're least deserving of it. You have to be so in touch with your own self. Furthermore, you have to learn the tools that I'm teaching, such as not only bringing up all the stuff out of the vault that you've been packing down, all your own pain and fears and bullshit beliefs, like I'm constantly talking about with people. You have to not only bring it up, but you have to be fully fluent in getting it out. Why? Because you are going to be taking on people's problems for the rest of your fucking life. And if you don't have a way of getting that shit out of you, you're fucked. You're going to burn out in 2 fucking years flat. You are. Talk to my producers. Rob regularly says, and Casey regularly talks about how heavy this show can be. And they're not the ones even doing the one-on-one counseling. They're listening firsthand. Rob has to go back and fucking edit it. 6 hours per episode, 5 hours per episode. He's in it.
Not that much, but it does sometimes feel like 5 or 6 hours.
He's gotten better and better.
It is heavy. It's very heavy.
Right. And so if you don't have mechanisms for getting that shit out of you, you're fucked. You will burn out. All right. I heard about burnout as a child because my parents were, dad was clergy and mom was, an educator in the church and counseling people constantly. All right. But it all begins with you healing yourself, Nick. That is the sine qua non on which all great counseling pivots. All right. Next question. K Fire asks the question, how do extreme takers abandon their kids, even if the kids are constantly loving them? We got a great insight on that one, K Fire. When we were working with Angelo, and I really want you guys to listen to this episode. Rob, what's the release date of the Angelo episode?
First episode is June 5th, and the follow-up is on June 12th.
You guys need to listen to it. It's a self-admitted narcissist. Rob, do you have my notes from that session?
I believe so.
Can you grab those real quick? He made a startling comment. Angelo made a startling comment that startled even him. I didn't trap him, but by questioning, I sort of pinned him down on a few things. And then he made this comment. Now you have to understand, K Fire just asked the question, how do extreme takers, what most people refer to as narcissists, I call them extreme takers, all right? Narcissist is a clinical term. I leave that to the fucking psychologists, even though they, of course, stole it from Greek mythology, and I studied the classics in Greek and Koine Greek and so forth. So technically I can use it, but I don't want anybody to get their fucking undies in a bundle. So anywho, how do extreme takers abandon their kids, even if the kids are constantly loving them? Remember what I was just saying a minute ago, that Angelo gave us a little sort of inside scoop. He helped us understand, helped the listener understand that what's really going on is that child grew up so afraid of his father, and his mother didn't protect him. And he grew up in the 80s. This wasn't the fucking 1920s or some shit, right? And so he wasn't safe in his own home, and he was being physically and emotionally abused, all right? And his mother was too, but by his own admission, she said she was not being physically abused, and she was not being nearly as emotionally abused. So she could have gotten him the fuck out of there. She didn't protect him. So he's just a lamb to slaughter. Okay. And what he says is his entire life has been spent creating mechanisms to protect himself. All the ones we know of as passive aggressive and avoidance and stonewalling and gaslighting and hypersensitivity to criticism and always the victim and always the hero of his own stories and all this shit. Why? To protect himself. Okay? So you ask the question, K-Fire, how do extreme takers abandon their kids? Even if the kids are constantly loving them. I sort of pinned him down and backed him into a corner, and what he finally admitted, or what he finally realized, Angelo finally admitted, was, quote, I'd rather protect myself than take care of those around me. Now, that's an ugly, ugly statement. And he knew how ugly it was. And this was not a dumb man. And he was aware of what he was saying as he said it. So that was an admission that he didn't have to make. And he made it. And he said it on a fucking podcast that literally beams around the world. And he admitted, I've been protecting myself at the expense of the people that I care about around me, which fundamentally means I don't care about them. I care about myself more. That's how. That their need for self-protection, their longing for love is so great that they will use even their own children and their own spouse to get love, that they don't even trust their own. He didn't even trust his own wife that he had been with for 24 years. He doesn't even trust his own children. That when you have the message embedded in you at a very young age, that you are not safe, even from your own parents. When you're not safe, even from your own parents, you can't trust anybody. You cannot trust anybody in life. Now, for those of us who are parents, it seems an insane thought. You can't trust your own kids? You would walk away from your own kids? How is that even possible? Because from a very young age, you believe you're not safe and you have to protect yourself at all costs. You can't let anyone close. And you have to get any love from any person you can, and no amount of love is ever enough. And if anyone hurts you even a little bit, you push them away, even your own kids. That's the level of pain inside the extreme taker. As much as we just want to villainize them and say they're bad people and they can't be changed, it's bullshit. There's always a cause, and it goes back to that level of pain in childhood. Crystal's comeback says other helping professions like police, ambulance, and fire. Thank you for that. You're exactly right. Okay, next question. Oh, I like this one. Babs McGee says, how do I stop moving states? I call it adventure, but I think it's running. I'm never settled. Yeah, you are running from it. I like to ask people the question, are you running from it or are you running to it? And Babs just summed it up well. I call it adventure as if she's running to adventure, and I'm sure there is an element of adventure to it. But yes, you're running from it. That when you get settled, maybe you get bored, and what happens when you get bored? A lot of those old voices and a lot of those old messages start rising up inside, and you don't like that, and it's extremely uncomfortable. And so I think that I have to run away, and as long as I'm on the move, those voices can't catch up to me. It's like I talk about how, you know, we keep running from that tidal wave of all those feelings and pain and fears inside of us and all those electrically charged memories from our past. But at some point, we have to turn and face them. That's exactly right, Babs McGee. And I even have a chapter in the book, it's chapter 3, that is simply titled, You're Running. And it talks about all the different mechanisms that we use in life. Smoking so much weed, addicted to lots and lots of sleep, surrounding yourself with incessant commotion, from crazy kids' schedules to lots of dogs and animals, from constant appointments to an ever-demanding career. Maybe you're addicted to your sports team, holed up in bed, away from kids, responsibilities, spouse, and life, having sex and concomitantly obsessing over another woman's husband, as well as subsequently lying about it, constantly looking forward to the next vacation, trying to constantly get away, shopping, pasted to the couch, watching insane amounts of TV, drinking 3 to 4 cocktails a night, working 4 jobs, seriously ODing on porn, working crazy hours, and on and on and on. I'm reading right out of it. It's running. And at some point, you have to stop running and start facing the shit. If you ever desire to be truly having peace in your soul, at some point, you have to turn and face it. Art in Mini asks the question, how do I get the courage to leave an emotionally abusive relationship of 32 years? Change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. It's not really even about courage, Mini, or Art. I know it feels like it, but it's really about your pain hasn't gotten bad enough yet. And I know you're looking at me saying, you're a fucking moron, Sven. I have 32 years of motherfucking pain. Don't tell me I don't have pain. I'm not saying you don't have pain. I'm saying you don't have enough yet. Your problem, Art in Mini, is that you're too strong for your own good. See, it's your strength. It's your ability to take it and take it and take it that causes you to stay in an emotionally abusive relationship for 32 years. You're terrified of going through the divorce. You're terrified of being alone, i.e. not having someone, likely not having someone there to confirm your worth. And thus, you're so strong. You can take it and take it and take it. Do you want to know the biggest difference between happy people and unhappy people? It's how they define strength. Unhappy people define strength as, oh, I can take it. I can take it. It's no big deal. I can handle it. And they eat shit and they eat shit and they eat shit and they eat shit. Happy people define strength as, no, I don't want to take it. I'm not going to take it. They'll take it some of the time because that's part of any sort of relationship. There's always a little bit of that. But no, they say no. And Art, in Minnie, you are still defining strength as I can take it. And you haven't reached what I talk about in the book as the fuck it point. See, the fuck it point is when the pain has finally gotten so bad that maybe you're just happen to be at the grocery store picking up limes for your gin and tonics. Or maybe it's 3 a.m, you're getting up to go wee-wee in the middle of the night. Or maybe it's whatever. You just got off work and you're walking out to your truck, whatever it is, and you have the realization, I'm done. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care anymore. And at that moment, you've hit the fucking point. There's no more thinking about it. There's no more wondering. There's no more hoping. It's, I know. And all of a sudden, you have the courage to do today what just yesterday you didn't have the courage to do. All of a sudden, I have the clarity today that just yesterday I didn't have. And you are not at that point yet, Art and Minnie. You are not at that point yet. You may be close, but you're not there. Because as long as you're still thinking about it, you haven't reached the fucking point yet. Your pain hasn't gotten bad enough. And there's something profoundly strange about pain. The relationship between pain and courage. Nothing gives courage greater and in greater doses than pain. And when your pain has gotten bad enough, it will give you the courage to rise up and find your eternal no. And you will fight like you never knew you had it in you. And you will create that which needs to be created for the grand expression, finally, of your authentic self. All right. All right.
Sven, this would be a great time to tell the folks a little bit about Community Plus.
Community Plus is our intimate small group on the Badass Counseling site. We have a group, a free group on Facebook called Badass Counseling Group. That has 45,000 members, and it's growing at the rate of about 1,000 a week. We'd love to have you join there. It's free, costs you nothing. You can post anonymously. People put up all sorts of stuff there, and it's a very supportive community, and it's totally free. You want free stuff? Take that. It's awesome. However, for a lot of people, they want something more serious. See, one of the stipulations of the Facebook counseling, Badass Counseling Group, is that the expectation, the hope is that you've read There's a Hole in My Love Cup. The initial iteration was that it's for people who wanted to elevate the idea of a support group. But it was not required because we wanted to take all comers. And most of the folks there, sadly, haven't read it. And we don't force people, hey, man, we take all comers. But Community Plus at badasscounseling.com is for folks who have read, are reading the book, who take their self-healing and their growth and their quest for genuine authenticity and aliveness really seriously. And they're just some fucking amazing people. The size of the group is capped at 1,000, and presently it's nowhere near that. You get direct access to me twice every month. We have free drawings every month. And it's a fee-based group, and it ain't cheap. But you get direct access to me every month for questions, and it's a much smaller group. In these lightning rounds, we'll have literally 20,000 people come through these lightning rounds on these 3 platforms. In the group, at most, we'll have a few hundred. Okay, so you're going to get and you can submit your questions in advance. Additionally, we have drawings for free small group counseling every month. We have drawings for one-on-one counseling every month. You get do-it-yourself video courses, our very best ones, our free access with your fee. You get priority pass access to be considered for counseling on the show if you want free counseling with me on the podcast. Priority pass access to go to the head of the wait list. If you want to sign up and pay for counseling, you go to the head of the waiting list. All sorts of stuff. Check it out. Community Plus at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
We are back with lots of great questions. First one is from Christina over on Facebook, and she says, I'm scared to write since my ex-husband used my other writings against me in a split. Christina, I literally had one woman that I was in a long-term relationship with take my journals when we broke up. She kept some of my journals and she gave them to my ex, and my ex used them against me in court regarding my children. Fucked me over regarding my children. Yeah. So trust me when I tell you, I know exactly what you're talking about. Nonetheless, you have to get it out of you. You don't have a choice. So there are workarounds. One, encrypted files in your computer. If your computer is your sole possession, no one else can claim ownership to your computer, create encrypted files in your computer and type it. The other thing is journal, and then in your other hand, if you have your pen in one hand, in the other hand, have a lighter. When you're done, just burn it. Or when you're done, flush it down the toilet. When you're done, put it in the shredder. Then flush pieces of it down the toilet. Whatever you have to do, but you have to get it out of you. That is not an option to not journal, to not write letters you don't send. Not an option. And there are enough workarounds of getting rid of those journals that you can do it, but you have to do it. Otherwise, you're stuck. And you're absolutely fucked. You have to do this, Christina. Next question. This is from Christina over on TikTok, a different Christina, Christina Del Toro. She asks, how do you deal with not getting closure? It's hard, but closure usually means you want something that you haven't gotten yet, which usually means I either want them to say something that they haven't said, or I want to say something that I haven't said. So how do I deal with not getting to say what I wanted to say or not hearing what I wanted to hear? In the things you say that you wanted, that if you have things that you wanted to say that you didn't get to say, you write a letter that you don't send. Hell, send it if you want. It's just going to be fucking embarrassing, but you don't have to send it because fundamentally you have something in you that wants to come out. That's what the longing for closure is. And if you're wanting to hear something from them, you're not going to get it. But that means they still have power over you. You're wanting something from that person. That means they still have power. You're miserable because they have something you want. Anytime someone has something that you want, they have power over you. They have the power to make you fucking miserable by withholding it. Now, that mere thought probably doesn't feel very good to know that they still have power over you. But the bottom line is you are longing for something from this person, or you are longing to push something out of you, to express something. So what you need to do is to express it with your therapist, with your best friend, whoever it is that listens in your life or in your own journaling. You have to begin to flush out of you. That's how you deal with not getting closure. You don't deal. You get out of you what you're really wanting to express. There's something in you that is stifled, and it needs to be unstifled. It needs to be uncorked. Okay. Jennifer Johnson Knapp says, if they want love, why all of the horrible, hurtful acts? Because those are what keep you under control. Those are what keep you with their foot on your throat, their boot on your throat. And then you figure, well, the way I get their boot off my throat is I give them more love. Precisely. Right. See, logic would say, well, shit, if somebody tries to keep me under their control and have their boot on my throat, I'd get the fuck out, but you don't do it, do you? Right. You stay and you figure, I'll give them more love. And that's how they get more love. And it's horrible, it's terrible, but you have to understand the level of pain that was inflicted on them as children. And they are that the level of parental conditioning on a child is so extraordinarily powerful. This gentleman that we had on the show, Angelo, that he expressed even at 49, that really up into his 30s and I think even 40s, he was still afraid of his father. Physically. He's not anymore, but physically afraid. That's the power of that conditioning as a child, even though he's bigger than his father. He could have taken his father back in his 30s or 40s or early 40s. But that conditioning is so powerful. I have a grown-ass adult men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, still terrified, physically terrified of their mother. And maybe their mother is 5'1", a little fucking tiny little spitfire of a whatever. But because they were so conditioned of fear by that parent, they're still terrified of the person. That is the power of parental conditioning. You have to understand. And I want to give you guys a little reminder. Back in the 1800s, how they would train circus elephants. Very briefly, when that baby elephant was born, what would they do? They would tie a shackle. They would attach a shackle to that baby elephant's back leg with a chain attached, like big steel chain or iron chain, whatever. And let's say it was 6 feet long. And then at the other end of that chain was a spike, the 3 foot long spike, let's say, and they would drive that into the ground. And that baby elephant would tug and tug and tug and tug and tug and tug and tug 1,000 times, trying to uproot that spike. And it never could. And eventually, what happens? The elephant stops tugging. In other words, the baby elephant imprints in the baby elephant's brain, I cannot pull this spike up. This chain owns me. So it stops trying. Thus, when that baby elephant becomes a medium and full-grown elephant, they can attach a shackle to a full-grown elephant's back leg, attach the chain, attached to a 1 foot long spike. And that grown-ass elephant that could easily pull out a 3 foot long stake doesn't even bother to try to pull out a 1 foot long stake. Why? It believes it can't. So why do they hurt? Why do narcissists or extreme takers hurt the ones they claim to love? Because they still believe they have to in order to protect themselves. They believe everyone will hurt them or might hurt them. And so they have to control and manipulate in order to get love and protect themselves. Am I excusing the behavior? No, but I am saying there is causation. There's a cause and effect relationship. And until they drill down and find the origins of and heal the origins of this behavior, they'll never fucking heal. What caused them to ever drill down? One thing and only one thing in my experience: pain. And that pain usually comes as a result of loss. Loss of one or those you love. And unfortunately, that person that they lose may not be you. Maybe it'll end up being their 25-year-old daughter who never wants anything to do with them ever again. Or maybe it'll be their next lover, or maybe it'll never be anyone. But it's loss. It has to be pain. The pain of getting crushed has to be so great that they are willing to go down into the scariest, ugliest shit of their lives. I mean, think about it, you guys. Why have you in your own life left counseling? Why have you in your own life not gone into your own deepest shit? Why? It's too fucking uncomfortable. It's too fucking scary. 10 times more so, or as much so, for the extreme taker or narcissist. All right, next question.
Got a good one here.
All right, go ahead, Rob.
And I can relate. Tanya asks, I'm a little over a year out of a divorce I didn't want. I have been doing a lot of work thanks to your books, and I know the damage I did in my 28-year marriage. I just can't seem to get out of my funk.
Yeah, I get that. And what it is, that funk, Tanya, in other words, if I'm hearing you correctly, Tanya, what you're really saying is you're depressed because you have been sent through a divorce that you didn't want. You wanted to stay married, which says you still love the person, which means you had love stripped from you, which means your heart is hurting, which means you still love the person, which means that the funk is love. So if your desire where you're fucked, sorry to tell you, Tanya, where you're fucked is your path to healing is the one thing you don't want to do. And that is to begin to flush out the love, but it's the love that's keeping you connected to that person in your heart. You still love them and you don't want to let go of them. But it's the holding on to that love that's causing you the pain because you love something that you can't have. And it's that person. And so the way you heal is by beginning to flush out the love, by getting fucking paper and beginning to write letters of love, by putting on that person his or her favorite sweatshirt and wearing it and smelling it and feeling it on you and going to your favorite restaurant that you went to and writing letters together, writing letters to the person and remembering all their memories and all the feelings. And it's pulling up all those memories and flushing them out and journaling about it. And it's doing all of these things that you have to do, going for your walk in the favorite arboretum where you guys like to go for walks. And it's pulling up all those memories and listening to their favorite songs. And it's doing everything in your power to bring up all those feelings and to be flushing them out. Why? Why do you have to do that? Because it's all that love that's hurting, and you have to flush out all of that love. But that means making the decision to let go of the love, being willing to let go of the love, being willing to flush out the love, knowing that you may not be connected to the person anymore. Are you willing to not be connected to the person anymore? But the more you flush out that love by genuinely bringing it up, it has to go up and out. It's not enough to dredge up the feelings from the past, dredge up the love in this case, as well as the anger and the rage and the hurt and all that. You have to bring it up, but you also have to give it a point of egress. You have to get out. So it's up from within and out, not just up. All right? All right. Next question. We're going to take a few more here. Okay. Matthew over on TikTok says, I'm definitely one of those guys that feels angry and tired all the time. I'm glad I found you. Well, I'm glad you found us too, Matthew. Matthew, all that anger and all that tired is the result of pain. Anger is a second-hand emotion or a secondary response. Anger is a response to perceived pain, past pain, present pain, or potential future pain. It's not just a defense against pain, but it's a response to pain. Therefore, what you need to begin to do is the very thing you don't want to do, Matthew. Your anger is what keeps you from having to touch the pain, the sadness, the sorrow, the misery, even the hate, the rage. And you have to go into the origins of that, because if you don't, you will continue to have anger be your default to everything. You have to be willing to go into all of the sadness and sorrow and the longing. You guys want to know where to start to begin to feel your feelings, especially of the past and what happened in your past? Go into the feelings of longing and what you wanted as a child. Feel that and how it wasn't given to you. And I don't just mean I wanted a new blue Schwinn 2-speed. No, go into the feelings of longing to feel connected, longing for someone to see you, longing to feel heard, longing for someone to just spend time with you, longing for someone to just be nice to you. Go into all those feelings and the sadness will come up. And it may not come right away, but keep going back. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And eventually the feelings will come, because Matthew, you've got so much pain inside of you, my brother. And the more that comes out of you, the more that anger will begin to go. There's that great scene from the original Star Wars, the very first one, where Obi-Wan is on the Death Star and he is swung onto like this grand fucking pylon in the center of it. And I think it's on the Death Star. And he's like shimmying around, the old Obi-Wan, right? And he's shimmying around, and then he grabs this lever and he pulls it down, and you hear the whole Death Star go. That's what's going to happen to your anger, Matthew. The more you go down into the pain and begin to flush that out. All right. Next question. Stephanie, the answer to your question is basically the exact same as the answer I just gave Matthew. Stephanie asked the question, how can I get over my insecurities to be the best partner for someone great? By going backwards into your insecurities, your wondering about yourself, your lack of belief in your own self, your own questioning of your own worth goes back into the imprinting from your childhood. Therefore, it requires going back into those things, determining where they came from, what the origins are, and all the feelings that accompany those, and beginning to flush that out using journaling, writing letters you don't send. Yes, you can use your therapist or talking to your favorite aunt or uncle who's a really good listener, but ultimately journaling is the simplest because it's pen and fucking paper, but it's going into those things because your insecurities you weren't born with those. You didn't come out of the womb saying, hey, I suck. No, that was conditioned, which means you have to go back in and find those origins and begin to look at the implications. Holy fuck, this person actually taught a child that the child didn't have worth? What the actual fuck? Well, that's going to bring up more feelings. You're going to have to face the truths. And just for the record, folks, let me ask you this question. This is one of the hardest questions of really healing. One of the hardest questions. It's the first question I ask every single client. It's simply this. What % of the truth do you want? What % of the truth do you want? Everybody says, well, I want it all. Or I'll say, do you want the truth? They'll say, absolutely. Or I'll say, what % of the truth? 100%. I'll say, really? And I write it down. And whatever words they use, I literally put it in quotes and I direct quote, write it down. I take copious notes in session, right? And I fucking use that shit against them later. I trap them. Because when they don't want to touch shit, and every single one of my clients, I get them to the point where they have shit they don't want to touch, or where I know they're hedging, especially when we get talking about their parents and they're protecting their parents. I say, whoa, hold on here. Maybe talking to some guy and he's protecting his mom, and I'll say, hold on here, sugar tits. I thought you wanted the fucking truth, but you are hedging right now, and you fucking know you're hedging. What's the real fucking truth? And he's like, fuck. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you should have thought before you opened your fucking pie hole and said you want 100% of the truth. But I do want it, Sven. Exactly. Healing begins when we finally begin to not protect anymore. We just put it all on the table and look at all the truths for what they really are and what was done to me, what wasn't done for me, and just call it for what it is. It's not about blame. It's just about fucking looking at the goddamn truth. All right. No, Cat Lover says, how do you do the out part? You can do the up from writing, but how does the up go out from writing? Remember how I say you have to bring up all the memories, the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs from the vault, from deep inside, and you have to give it a point of exit, a point of egress. The journaling is both. Now, I teach other tools in the book as well. Journaling, writing letters you don't send. So, for instance, I'm just referencing this guy we just did a counseling episode on, just because we had him, an hour ago when we were taping that episode. And he was talking about one of the exercises in the book, after you've done a few of the chapters and I've taken you into some things, one of the things I have you do is I have you write a letter to a particular person that we talk about in that chapter. And he was talking about how he wrote that letter to that person because he was at that point in the book. And he said, Sven, the fucking rage just flowed out of me in this letter that I didn't even really know was there or haven't touched in 49 years. That's getting it out. It's not just bringing it up. And he was remembering things. The book was helping him remember things. And he's, and different clients say, Sven, I had this dream where I had this memory, and then that triggered the memory of this thing over here. Or Sven, I just happened to be stopped at a stoplight, and totally out of the blue, I remembered that time I was on my bicycle when I was 9. And then this thing happened. I'd totally forgotten about that. And I had this holy shit moment about my brothers and how they treated me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the more we bring that up and we journal about it, but then the feelings that go along with it and the implications of, wait a minute, what that really says about my brothers. I thought I had this loving, wonderful home. I didn't. Fuck me. So then you're journaling about all this. So Cat Lover, to answer your question, the journaling, or in therapy, if you have a therapist who actually takes you deep rather than just skimming the surface of what happened this last week. But the journaling gets it up, and it takes it out. In fact, it's even more powerful at getting it out than it is at getting it up. Anyway, but I teach other tools in the book for both of those as well. All right, next question. Michelle Sparks asks a very good question on TikTok. Is it possible to have insecurities without it going back to childhood? Possible? Oh, shit. As Rob says in his example, it's possible that my cat could kill me tonight. Highly unlikely, but it is possible. My answer to almost all things with regard to inner stuff is childhood. Why? Because the parental imprinting. Yes, we have friends. Yes, there's society, but there is nothing so powerful as parental conditioning. Nothing. Everything. Even if a particular message that I'm insecure about might have come from, let's say, lover number 1 or lover number 3 when I was 22, the ground was fertile for that seed. Why was the ground fertile? In other words, what predated the planting of that seed by that person at 22, that lover or that friend or that significant person in my life? Why was the ground fertile and ripe and ready to receive such a message? One of the things that a lot of my clients realize is that, oh, sure, they got in the relationship with this narcissist or this or that abuser, yet they were set up because of what they were conditioned to believe about themselves in childhood. Or they were set up because they were conditioned to believe that this is the definition, this is what love is. If love doesn't come with put downs and hurt, it's not love, because that's all I ever knew growing up. That's not a red flag. That's normal. That's what I had growing up. So while that particular message of your insecurity may not have come from your parent, the fertile ground in which it was planted did. Let's see. What have we got here? Michelle Freeman echoes something someone earlier said. I'm still running at 68. I also called it adventure. And that's your right. If you want to keep running, you can. And it's totally up to you. Nothing wrong with that. Yet some people say, I'm so fucking sick of this shit. I'm sick of the running. I just want to be authentic for once in my life. And the truth is, folks, it's scary and it's ugly, but the process of flushing out all the pain, fears, and bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself and finally becoming authentic, the one thing it does not have to be is a long process. You don't have to be in counseling for years, people. In fact, if you are in counseling for years, barring some long, heavy fucking psychological diagnosis that I don't fucking know, there's no need for that. Change can be fast if you go deep enough. The problem with a lot of therapy is it doesn't go deep enough. There's a lot of great therapy out there. Don't get me wrong. A lot of great people doing a lot of great work. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of times it just doesn't go deep enough. Libra Girl asked the question, what if the marriage counselor keeps saying my husband loves me, but I don't feel it? Two things there. One is that the reason you're not feeling it, it's either one of two things. It's either A, am I not feeling it because I have a hole in my love cup and no amount of love am I ever going to feel? But usually if you have a hole in your love cup, you feel it when it may flow out of you, but at least you feel it when it's flowing in. But I hear you saying, I'm just not feeling it, which tells me he's not loving me in ways that make me feel loved. So what that tells me is your marriage counselor can keep saying my husband loves me, but the point is, I don't give a shit. I'm not feeling it. He's not loving me in ways that I need to feel loved. So he may have you convinced, Mr. Marriage Counselor or Mrs. Marriage Counselor, that he's loving me, but if I'm not feeling it, isn't that kind of the fucking point? So it's like your marriage counselor is trying to convince you logically, well, he's loving you. He's loving you. You should just feel loved. But I don't. I don't fucking feel loved. What more do I have to say? Here's what I need in order to feel loved. This is why we have the whole language of love languages. Okay? This is how I like to feel loved. This is why I wrote a whole fucking extra chapter on love languages. I think Gary Chapman's book is wonderful, and it's helped a lot of people, millions and millions and millions of people over the last 3 to 4 decades. But I feel like he missed a couple of things. And the way I feel loved is by feeling listened to. You want to love me? Listen. Because most people don't. Most people will ask one question, you'll start talking, and their eyes start dancing around the room. Whereas when they're talking, their eyes are right on you. Sorry, I'm not going to get close to you. Personally, I'll counsel you. I'll be friendly, chatty at a party, but I'm not going to get close to you. Why? Because you're fundamentally saying you are focused when you are talking. You are focused when we're talking about you, but you are not focused when we're talking about me. That's just not somebody I'm going to get fucking close to. Because you're fundamentally saying you're important and I'm less so. That's how I feel loved, by listening. Okay? No, it's just me. Okay? Now, if I'm with a partner who feels loved when we talk and we connect and we share feelings, then that's something I'm going to fucking do if I want that person to know they're loved. That's my responsibility. Or if I have someone who just wants to have lots of time together, and if I care about this person, I'm going to spend lots of fucking time with that person. So yeah, if your husband does not make you feel loved, well, that's your fucking, honestly, on one hand, it's your husband's problem, but on the other hand, it's your problem. Why do you continue to stay with someone who doesn't make you feel loved? And that's what it boils down to here. All right, last question, and we're going to call it. Sweet and Sassy, I'm going to take one more after this, but Sweet and Sassy says, do you have a book on narcissistic behaviors and how you deal with one? No, not on narcissistic behaviors, but the way you deal with a narcissist is the same way you deal with anything. You fucking heal your own shit. The problem isn't the narcissist, people. You have to understand this. The problem isn't the cheater. The problem isn't the narcissist. The problem isn't the extreme taker. The problem isn't the selfish one. The problem isn't the abuser. That in the end, a healed person will not get in or stay in a relationship with someone who mistreats them. Therefore, if I am in a relationship with someone like that and I stay, it's because I think I can change this person. I'm trying to stay and fix them, make it work, cope. No. If I heal myself, I'm constantly taking inventory. Do I want to stay in this relationship? Do I have reason to stay in this relationship? Is there any hope of this relationship changing? No. I'm out. Heal yourself. That is the answer to pretty much all of your fucking problems. Because then you see clearly and you act with confidence and strength. The narcissist, the cheater, the abuser is fundamentally not the problem. It's what I need to do that I am not hearing my own voice and I'm not heeding my own voice. That's the problem. Am I blaming the victim? No. But I defend victims. I heal victims for a fucking living. So after I've healed them, what's the first thing I teach them to do? Have boundaries. Oh, boundaries. Why? So this shit doesn't happen again. In other words, it's my fucking responsibility how I allow someone to treat me. So what does that mean? That if you heal yourself, you are finally able to have boundaries. You are finally able to get the fuck out when you are being treated in a way that is not loving. Period. End of story. All right, guys. Rob, any final thoughts today?
Lots of narcissism questions today. Mm-hmm. It's on people's minds. Mm-hmm. And I like the question about the woman who had a divorce she didn't want. It's when you've been taught you're unlovable and then somebody leaves you that you didn't want and it echoes. That's really hard to get out of. But when you realize where those initial feelings came from, then you can start to get over, I am lovable. You can conclude that. And then you got to get out there, and that really makes you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thanks, you guys. I feel like we had some real diversity of questions today, and I appreciate that. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. On behalf of my team, Casey over in the booth, Sophia the artist, Eva Absentia, and Rob the Rocket next to me, I'm Sven Erlinson, your host, the Badass Counselor. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlinson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.